Welcome back. We're on to the next section here, section 02. And in this section, it's all about foiling. Maybe you remember what FOIL means or when to use it. Maybe you don't. Either way, I'm going to teach it just as if it's the first time you've seen it. And hopefully it makes a little more sense. We'll see. So, you FOIL when you want to multiply together two quantities that each have two terms. Here's what I mean. Here we have what's called a polynomial. It's not important that you know that at this point. We'll learn that a little bit later. But this thing in parentheses has two terms, right? Terms are things that are separated by plus or minus signs. So x is a term, 4 is a term. So we've got two terms, x plus 4. This also has two terms. X is a term, -7 is a term. Okay? So when you have two things that have two terms and you want to multiply them together, probably the best way to do it is to FOIL. That's why the method's so popular. And here's how it works. FOIL is really an acronym. Each letter stands for something. The F stands for first. So in your notes, maybe just write this. You don't even have to write the word multiply. So for the problem, just write this. And I encourage you to write FOIL, spread out like this. We're going to write what each letter stands for, and then we're going to write the step that it means underneath each one. So what it means for first, if we have x plus 4 times x minus 7, we're going to take the first term in each set of parentheses and multiply them together. So we're going to take the first term is x, and the first term here is also x. And we're going to multiply x times x. And that gives us, it's not 2x, that's x plus x. When you multiply x times itself, you can think of these as being x to the first power, each of those. So those little ones up here, those exponents. When we multiply, we add these exponents together. So 1 plus 1 would give us 2. So this is x to the second power. Another name for that is x squared. Okay? So we took the first term of each parentheses, multiplied them together, which, since these are both letters, we added the exponents together to get x to the second power, or x squared. One step down, 3 to go. Next step, O stands for outside or outer. So, from what we started with, we're going to take the outer terms. So we're going to take the one on the outside of all of this x in the front, and we're going to take this -7 in the back. And those are the two things we're going to multiply together. Tip, if there's a negative sign here or a minus sign, it goes with the number after it. So we're not just multiplying x times 7, we're multiplying x times -7. Okay? So when I write x times -7, which is what we're doing, since this is a negative number, I write it in parentheses just so you're absolutely clear. We're multiplying these things, not subtracting. Okay, that's why those parentheses are there. So x times -7, if you've got a number times a letter, just put the number in front of the letter. This is -7x. -7x. Okay? So that's the first step and the outer step. The I stands for inside or inner. Okay, so again, starting with the original problem here, we're going to take the two inner terms and multiply them together. So here we have +4, and also on the inside we've got x. So we're going to multiply those two terms together. So 4 times x. We don't usually write the plus sign if we're going to multiply those things together. I could, but we usually don't. 4 times x, that's just squish those two things together, 4x. Okay. And don't worry, once we're done with the last step here, oops, I gave it away, what L stands for. Once we have all these done, we're going to take what we ended up with at each step and put them all together. But we have to do L first. L stands for last. And if this looks like a lot of writing, the way that we're doing it right now, it is a lot of writing, but the more comfortable you get doing this type of problem, the less work you have to write. So it pays to get better at doing these things, and the more you do, the better you'll get at it. We want to take the last term in each set of parentheses. So here we took the first term in each parentheses, x times x. So this, the last one in each parentheses, it's going to be the 4 times, remember that's -7. Four times -7. And that doesn't even have any letters in it. That's just 4 times -7. That's going to be -28. Okay. If you didn't know that off the top of your head, that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with you pulling out a calculator to make sure that 4 times -7 is -28. I'd rather you use a calculator and get it right than be embarrassed that you don't know what it is, guess, and get it wrong. Okay? Getting the right answer is more important than being embarrassed. So, use whatever means necessary to get -28 there. So we've done all 4 steps. Each step gave us part of the answer of what we're going to get. We just need to put these 4 things together. So we're going to take all 4 of these and put them together. So we've got x squared minus 7x. This is a positive 4x, so we'll put plus 4x minus 28. We are so close to the answer. There's just one more thing that we need to do. How many terms do we have here? Remember, terms are separated by plus or minus signs. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 terms here. If you multiply two things that have 2 terms by doing FOIL, you should end up with 3 terms. But we have 4. So I'm suggesting to you that 2 of these terms could be put together. We can combine them somehow. We're going to combine like terms here. And by like terms, I mean they have the same letter to the same power. So, this x squared has a power or exponent of 2. These x's, they're just x's. We could write 1's in the exponent, but we usually don't. And this -28 doesn't have any x's at all. So which 2 terms are the like terms here? It's these 2, right? We're going to put these 2 terms together. We're going to combine like terms. They are alike because they both have just x at the end. So what is -7x plus 4x? Well, -7 plus 4 is -3. And we don't subtract or add the x's or anything like that. -7x plus 4x is going to give us -3x. So we put those 2 terms together to get -3x. The other 2 terms just come straight down. So we have x squared minus 3x minus 28. And that's our answer. Okay. It doesn't have to be all weirdly spaced like this. I just wanted to make sure these went pretty much straight down. You can make it look all nice and neat as your answer. But that's how it works. That is FOIL. If you start with something like this that has two terms in each set of parentheses, split it out into these 4 steps, take what you get from each step, write it out, and you should be able to combine 2 terms that are alike. Okay. So, that was example 1 in the notes. You can see down at the bottom here, there it is. Example 2 works very similarly to this one. If you're confident, if you think you can, I'd like you to try going through the FOIL process with this, or not with this example, but with example 2. Go ahead and do that on your paper. Pause the video, come back when you're ready to talk about it. All right, you ready? Maybe you got stuck really early. Maybe you just want to see another example worked out. Maybe you tried it, didn't get so far. Maybe you have an answer and you're just hoping it's right. No matter what, here we go. I'm going to write a little less on this one. I'm not going to write out every single step like this, but just know it follows the same pattern. So you can always use what you wrote down here to help you on other problems like this. Here we go. The first step is still first. We take the first thing in each set of parentheses and we multiply them together. And I know C times 1 is C. So I'm just going to write C. I could write the entire step like that, but I could write less. It's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. Outer, I'm going to take the 2 outer terms and multiply them together. So that's C times 2C. C times 2C. I might want to give myself a little space to the side to do that. I can think of this as 1C times 2C. To multiply 2 things like this, it's kind of like what we did here, except there are numbers in front. Just multiply the numbers in front first. So 1 times 2 is 2. And then you have C times C, which works just like it did with x's. It's just C to the second power, or C squared. So 2C squared, and that's a positive 2C squared. So that's the first 2 parts. We've done first and outer. Next is inner. We take the 2 inside terms, multiply them together. That's going to be negative 5 times 1. Negative 5 times 1, that's just negative 5. It's easier when it's just 2 numbers. So negative 5. And now we're on the last. We take the 2 things in the back of each parentheses. So negative 5 times 2C. Okay. Maybe I want some extra space to do that as well. Negative 5 times 2C. And again, I just have a habit when I'm multiplying by a negative number to put it in parentheses. Multiply your numbers first. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. And there's only one C here, so we just tack a C on at the end. This is negative 10C. So these are the 4 terms that we get. C plus 2C squared minus 5 minus 10C. So, at this point, that's where we were right here when we had all 4 of these terms. We knew that we could put 2 of them together that were like terms. So, if you didn't get this far on your own, maybe you can get it from here. Which 2 terms are the like terms? Can you put them together and come up with the answer? Go ahead and try it if you haven't yet. Which 2 terms are we putting together here? Those two. Because they're the ones that have just c with them. This one has a c squared. None of the other ones do. This doesn't have a c. That makes it different from all the rest. These are the two that we're putting together. So we just need to figure out what c minus 10c is. C minus 10c. Again, we can think of this as 1c minus 10c. You can always put a 1 in front of a letter. Okay, so 1 minus 10, that's going to be, if we think of a number line, 0, 1. We're starting at 1, and we're subtracting 10. So we're going this way by 10. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How far back does that put us? All the way back to negative 9. So that's negative 9c. Okay. So when we put these two terms together, we get negative 9c. So I can write negative 9c, and then the other two terms just get copied straight down. Plus 2c squared minus 5. Now, this is correct. This answer is correct. However, if you are being trained as a professional mathematician, which you are by taking this class, okay, we're going to teach you how a professional mathematician would write this. He wouldn't write it this way because we want to order these three terms in order of the exponent. Okay? Remember, the exponent is the little number here. We want to start with the term with the highest exponent and go down to the term with the lowest exponent at the end. So what I'm saying is we would want to write this term first on the left. Okay? If it's the first term, we don't need to write the plus sign. It's not important. We already know it's positive. Then this term would be next because this c has an exponent of 1. So minus 9c. And then the term that doesn't have a c would go at the end, minus 5. Okay. You don't have to write it this way. These two things mean exactly the same. So if you did this and you got this and you stopped, or if these are in any order, that's correct. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let me give you a thumbs up if you got that. Okay, but it would be preferable to write it this way. It's not wrong to leave it that way though. Okay, we got lucky here, and the x squared was already first. We wrote this in the middle, and now it's at the end. Okay, so that's two examples of how to FOIL. I hope you're more comfortable about it than you were before you started watching the video. That's not bad for, how long was this? About 20 minutes or so? That's not bad. Okay? We're going to do a couple more examples in the same section of notes in the next video, and then you'll have some problems to work on your own about how to FOIL. So, until then, see you next time.